questions. The first question depends on 4 excerpts, and the second question depends on the 5th excerpt. Okay, I'll take up the 4 excerpts first. So the 4 excerpts leading to the first question from Vatsala. First one. When reviewing books, he leaned towards novels about the soil rather than the city, about the average rather than the gifted, about the sick rather than the healthy. There was a special writing when he referred to stories about little people, and human was his favorite adjective. Obviously, we know this refers to his years of growing up. Next one. Service is the only badge of nobility. I see nothing offensive in the conception of fertilizer as the highest symbol of man's destiny. It is fertilizer that produces wheats and roses. Then, the worst folk song is superior to the best symphony. A man braver than his brothers insults them by implication. Let us aspire to know virtue which cannot be shared. And then, I have yet to see a genius or a hero who, if stuck with a burning match, would feel less pain than his undistinguished average brother. Then, genius is an exaggeration of dimension. So is elephantiasis. Both may be only a disease. We are all brothers under the skin, and I, for one, would be willing to skin humanity to prove it. And then, look at it. A sublime achievement, isn't it? A heroic achievement. Think of the thousands who worked to create this and of the millions who profit by it. And it is said that but for the spirit of a dozen men here and there down the ages, but for a dozen men, less perhaps none of this would have been possible. And that might be true. If so, there are, again, 2 possible attitudes to take. We can say that these 12 were great benefactors, and we are all fed by the overflow of the magnificent wealth of their spirit, and that we are glad to accept it in gratitude and brotherhood. Or we can say that by the splendor of their achievement, which we can neither equal nor keep, these 12 has shown us what we are, that we do not want the free gifts of their grandeur, that a cave by an oozing swamp and a fire of sticks rubbed together are preferable to skyscrapers and neon lights, if the caves and the sticks are the limit of your own creative capacities. Of the 2 attitudes, Dominique, which would you call the truly humanitarian one? Because you see, I'm a humanitarian. Then next, we must be kind, Peter, to everybody around us. We must accept and forgive. There is so much to be forgiven in each one of us. If you learn to love everything, the humblest, the least, the meanest, then the meanest in you will be loved. Then we'll find the sense of universal equality, the great peace of brotherhood, a new world, Peter, a beautiful new world. So, on these 4 excerpts, Vatsala says in the first one, he is equating being human with being weak. In the second one, ridiculing virtues. In the third one, rejecting outcome of brilliance and would rather stay with mediocrity. In the fourth one, accepting vices. It seems that too he despises heroes, he despises brilliance. He is a big advocate of mediocrity, so much that he has made a virtue of it. It seems he wants equality, even if that means destroying a better possibility. Seems like he is trying to become great by ridiculing greatness and trying to destroy anyone who displays greatness. Please help me understand this. There's not much left to understand Vatsala. This is what he's doing, yes. You are on the money. You must ask, what's the principle behind him? What is it that makes him do such an incomprehensible and ugly thing? It is called inertia. Man is an in-between state. Man is an in-between state. The in-between state is of suffering. The suffering can be relieved in two ways. And Rourke and Toohey agree till this point. Man is an in-between state. This state contains a lot of suffering. Therefore, man has to strive to change this state. Till this point, they are together. Only till this point. Then they diverge. Rourke says suffering has to be ended by rising. Like his designs, like his buildings, like his skyscrapers, he wants to rise. He says consciousness is sandwiched between the one truth and the false multitudes. Truth is one, the masses are millions. And that's what makes man suffer. His one truth versus the falseness that he imbibes from the teeming masses, the millions of them. And truth is one and the masses are in millions and billions. And the truth is imperceptible. The masses, they are at hand. You can touch them, you can verify them. You can see them, you can hear them, you can get influenced by them. The senses are all capable of detecting them and ascertaining their existence. Truth, nobody knows of. You can't even be sure using your usual faculties that truth really exists. The world you can always be very sure of. The world does exist, right? Just as this hand exists, the world exists. And who is fool enough to check the existence of his own hand? We are very sure that the hand does exist. So the hand exists, then the clothing too has to exist. Otherwise it is absurd to say that the hand exists, but the clothing is doubtful. So it's one truth versus the millions of masses. And this in-between state is one of strife, one of conflict. The influence that the millions of masses have upon you is anti-truth. It tries to obfuscate the truth. The masses are all body. And therefore they have only bodily influence upon you. The masses are all conditioned. Therefore they have a conditioning influence upon you. And there are just too many of them. So in this conflict between the one truth and the marauding masses, what is the safe option to take. Safe and convenient. Favor the masses. And he takes that option to perfection. He says, I'll completely favor the masses. Because the conflict is certainly there and a side has to be chosen. It is not a conflict in which one can remain neutral. It is a battle for one's life. How can one be neutral in it? So, you pick your side. Truth or the masses. And it is very, very tempting to choose the masses for reasons we have already discussed. The masses are all apparent, visible, available to be touched, available to take pleasure from. Can you take pleasure from God? Can God buy you bread? If you want to have sex, you need a person, not God. So the masses have a lot going in their favor. God, defenseless and alone. The poor fellow is cutting such a sorry figure. Nobody to give him company. Can't even show his face. Daddy has no face at all. How will he show it? And on the earth there are more faces than you can lay your eyes upon in your entire lifetime, right? So what he is doing is easy to do. It's just that he is doing it the whole hog. He's brilliant. Most people choose the masses, but they choose the masses as some kind of dirty theft with a lot of guilt. They say, no, yes, I like excellence. God stands for excellence. God stands for aloneness. They say, yes, I like excellence, I like aloneness. But you see, one has to be practical and one has to listen to the masses as well. So even while being with the masses, I'll try for excellence. That's what most people do. That's what most of us do, right? He is an absolute. He says no. Excellence lies in being with the masses. So forget God and forget excellence. Ignore the other side totally. You must be unambiguous in your choice, and your choice has to be the masses. Therefore, you have to be very clearly arrayed against any display of solitude, of individualism, of aloneness, of brilliance, of heroism. Because all heroism is godly. All true individuality is godly. When it comes to the masses, there is only the unifying factor of their lowest common denominator. What is it that holds the masses together? Is it lofty ideals? No. Even in the jungle, you find groups and packs and schools, don't you? Go to the oceans, you find schools of fish swimming together, and flocks of birds are there. Aren't there? What is it that keeps the animals united in a flock? Food and sex and security. So that's what keeps the masses together. So when you are in favor of the masses, then you will have to be necessarily against any display of self-realization or self-actualization or transcendence. Because the side of the masses, the domain of the multitudes, stands for the lowly, basal, unifying instincts. I am a body, you are a body, I want food, you want food, we are together. I am a man, you are a woman, I want sex, you want sex, we are together. There are the 3 of us, there are the 4 of us. If we gang up and sleep together, then there will be more security in the night in this jungle. So let's be together. That's a tribe. These are the unifying principles, right? Oh, you can have myths as the unifying principles. But really what unifies beings in a jungle is the body, the bodily needs, right? So there is no individuality. Hence, if you favor the masses, then you will have to be necessarily opposed to God and brilliance and solitude and aloneness and individuality. A pack of wolves does not thrive upon the individual brilliance of a single wolf, does it? It thrives upon collective effort. And that collective effort requires very little intellect. Obviously, no understanding. It just requires cooperation at the bodily level. That's what he stands for. Therefore, he is such an enemy of brilliance wherever he sees it. We all are Tuhis. It's just that we are incomplete Tuhis. Tuhi is a complete one. He very well knows that the in-between state is of suffering. To that extent, he is Buddha-like. Only to that extent. But the solution that he comes up with is infernal. His solution is turn totally beastly, dumb down your consciousness, and there will be no suffering. Do beasts in jungle suffer the way humans do? That's to his prescription. If you are suffering, then turn into a flock of birds or a pack of wolves, a pride of lions, whatever. Feel safe, feel secure. One wolf is much the same as another wolf. The toiling masses, much the same. No one superior to the other, and therefore no one is inferior. What makes man suffer is his consciousness that wants to embrace the truth. In spite of belonging to the earth, the consciousness wants to rise to the skies. That's why man thinks. That's why no beast thinks. Man wants liberation. That makes him suffer. So Tuhi says, you suffer because you want liberation. Don't want liberation, you will not suffer at all. Remain as the masses are. Remain as much in bondage as they do, and there will be no suffering. Rourke's prescription is you suffer because you want liberation. So you better devote your life to liberation. That's Rourke's prescription. You get to his prescription. You suffer because you want liberation. Hence, to alleviate your suffering, drop your demand for liberation. Become just like the other beings in bondage. Don't you hear this thing very, very frequently? We are all tuhis in some sense. When a near and dear one tries to dissuade you from trying for something higher by saying, but why do you want to risk everything by aiming or while aiming for the stars? Why can't you be normal and general and regular and be satisfied with the regular stuff of life just as all others are satisfied? Look at Tinku, the next door chap. He is so contented sitting in his father's shop. Why do you want to do something abnormal? Now that is tuhi. This is tuhi. Do you get the logic? Whenever you are in a conflict and someone suggests the easy route to you, the fellow believes in tuhism. That is Tuhian philosophy. The Tuhian philosophy is, if you wake up, you will suffer. So what is the way to get rid of suffering? Keep sleeping. And not only must you keep sleeping, you must be drugged into sleeping. Tuhism. Needless to say, Tuhi recognizes greatness. But he sees greatness not as a goal but as a threat. Most people do not recognize greatness. They recognize neither meanness nor greatness. Tuhi recognizes both. It's just that he makes the wrong choice. Most people know neither God nor Maya. They neither have a great love towards God nor do they have a great aversion towards Maya. Actually, they don't have anything great in their lives. So God they love a little. You know, the festival season is approaching. So now is the time to display our little love for godliness. So Durga Puja pandals and Ram Leela and stuff like that will start showing up now. Little love, seasonal love. So that little love they show. And then they also have a little aversion towards Maya. So they teach their kids, now don't lie, don't steal. To that extent, they don't want to be bad people. To that extent, they don't want to belong to the jungle. In the jungle, anybody kills anybody. So people will teach their kids, no, don't hurt others, don't kill others. To that extent, they don't want to belong to the jungle. Only to that extent. A little love for God, a little aversion towards the jungle. Not much. Tuhi is an extreme. He has great inclination towards the jungle. Rourke has great inclination towards godliness. both share something in common, which is that both know greatness. The common man knows no greatness. The 4 chapters of the book say Peter Keating, Ellsworth Toohey, Gail Vine, and Howard Rourke. The common man is the chapter that has not been written. He precedes Peter Keating. He is chapter 0. Even Peter Keating is special in some sense. 99% people of the world do not belong even to Peter Keating level. "99% people of the world end before Ayn Rand begins." She says the worst kind of character possible is Peter Keating. But the fact of this world is that the best in this world are often worse than Keating. So Rand is sitting on some other planet. On that planet, the worst ones are called Keating. On this planet, you would be fortunate if you can get even a Keating. On this planet, what you have is unmentionable. In fact, most of us, if we can be Keatings, it would be an achievement. So that's the kind of littleness we remain enveloped in. Toohey is great. He's almost a monk. He's almost a saint. Toohey is saintliness taken a wrong turn. Toohey knows exactly everything that is wrong with the world. He knows exactly everything. He knows the falseness of this world with more clarity than most people do. But he lacks in 2 things. One, love for greatness, and second, belief in man's ability to achieve that greatness. He didn't fight. He just lost out. He said the great is so far ahead and so far beyond most people that there is no possibility that they can ever achieve greatness. This battle is not worth fighting, he said. He just discounted that option. He said, no. If it's a choice between the sky and the earth, there is no possibility of reaching the sky, therefore the earth has to be chosen. This betrays, I say, lack of 2 things. One, lack of love for the sky, and second, lack of belief in mankind's ability to fly to the sky. So Toohey often says, this is a nice one here. A man braver than his brothers insults them by implication. Then referring to great men, he says, we can say that by the splendor of their achievement, which we can neither equal nor keep, These 12 has shown us what we are. So he has already given up. They are showing us their grandeur. And that grandeur we can neither equal nor keep. He has given up. He is saying no. It's too far beyond. We can't reach there. And if some have indeed managed to reach there, then theirs is an achievement that we can neither equal nor keep. So he's a very disappointed one. That's Tuhi for you. Subranil. Dear Acharya Ji, Pranam. My question is about the character of E.M. Tuhi. He is like the extremities of human character in peaceful coexistence. He is scholarly and is not confused between greatness and banality. He knows exactly where to thrust a wedge in a fragmented character, as well as he knows exactly why Rourke is a threat. With deep inferiority in his heart, he bears the reputation of a great man. With such dichotomy, we can expect restlessness and mania. But Tuhi has an integrated and assuring outlook that makes people trust him. At first glance, Tuhi seems an impossibility. How is it possible that the storm that Tuhi raised against Rourke hasn't raged his inside? Whose inside? Rourke's or Tuhi's? Probably Tuhi. That's what he wants to ask. Then he says, how do the Tuhis of the world manage to even exist? As if it is such a deep secret. There are Tuhis and Tuhis around. Go ask them, how do they manage to exist? The answer is, given our bodily constitution, it is tempting to take the easier path. Sadhana is difficult, succumbing is easier. So Tuhi succumbs. It's just that he succumbs perfectly. He's an absolute succumbist. He's godly in his own way. He says, I'll totally surrender to Maya. How do the Tuhis of the world manage to even exist? Because such an existence is comfortable. Look at Tuhi. How much of labor does he do? And then look at Rourke. Forget out everything else. Just look at the quantum of labor. Whose life is easier? Whose life is easier? Rourke works 12 hours a day. Tuhi, he has a sonorous voice. A speech lasting 30 minutes, a speech lasting 40 minutes. And he has his audience in raptures. Rourke has to raise a building. Tuhi has to just write an article on that building. So Rourke raises the entire Stoddard temple. Do you know what it means to raise a temple? Yeah? Design it, bring in the material, and raise it within the time frame and the budget. And then Tuhi has to just slash the entire thing with an article called sacrilege. Tuhi would have taken maybe 40 minutes to pen that article. It's a pretty short column, sacrilege. And Tuhi is done. So this will tell you the economic basis of Tuhism. It saves labor. It saves labor. And do remember the physicality of Tuhi. Recall how he looks. Is he cut out for labor? Timid, puny. Ayn Rand says he looks like a chicken just freshly hatched out of the egg. What kind of physicality and muscularity does he have? At places he has been described as someone prone to collapsing under the weight of his expensive coat. So his clothes needed to be expensive, and more importantly, they needed to be light. Otherwise, he would have collapsed under their weight. Was he someone who could have really worked as Rourke did, holding the drill in his hands in the quarry? You recall the description? You know what it means to drill a hole into a rock? What kind of muscularity it requires? Now imagine Tuhi doing it. Or Tuhi working in the trades as a mason, plumber, carpenter, welder. The doctors didn't give him a long life. In fact, everybody was surprised when he managed to survive. He was born underweight and blue. The ego wants possession. If it cannot have possession of things material, then it will have possessions of things ideal, mental. There are two kinds of things: gross things and subtle things. You can either control a man by owning his gross thing, his body, clinch his wrist, solidly, and he cannot go away, can he? Or you can own him by owning his mind, dominate him, indoctrinate him, and then he cannot go away. He just doesn't have the wherewithal to work in the domain of gross material. He's not cut out for that. But he's ambitious. He wants to own. So he sets off to own souls. He says, I cannot own territories, but I'll own the souls of men. I'll become the ruler of their minds. I'll start sitting in their consciousness. I'll make them dependent upon myself. You remember that bit when the priest was teaching him from the excerpt in Bible that says that of what use is all the wealth in the world if you have lost your soul? So he very quickly infers from that. He says this means that if you want to be really wealthy, then you must be a collector of souls. Even the Bible is saying, of what use is wealth if you have lost your soul? Which means that soul is bigger than wealth. So if you want to be really wealthy, then you must not collect wealth, you must collect souls. And that's what he sets off to do. He starts collecting souls of people. What kind of people? People who are in a way like Tuhi, not prepared to slog it out like Rourke. Rourke is all right with the hard way. Tuhi cannot survive the hard way. So he takes the soft way. Unfortunately, there are just too many people who take the soft way. You're getting it? Why work hard? When it can be obtained through deceit and fraud. That's to his principle. That which Rourke wants to attain, he wants to attain by the dint of his hard work. That which Tuhi wants to attain, he attains using manipulation. So, there is nothing so very mysterious about Tuhi. I'm seeing just too many of you baffled with Tuhi. Oh, what is Tuhi? What's the principle behind him? How does he operate? He's so contradictory. I cannot sort him out. There's nothing so very hidden or mysterious in his character. Nor is he rare. I said, look around and you will find a lot of Tuhism around. Rourkes are relatively rarer.